Welcome, friends, to another mobile edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys and girls, I am a retired New York City police detective, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Hey, today I wanted to go over tonight. We have a really great live stream planned for you guys. We are going to do everything vehicle forensics, and we're going to talk about some of the things that are happening out in Moscow, Idaho. There's a lot of activity at the crime scene. We saw four or five what appeared to be undercover, either representatives of law enforcement of some nature going in and out of that house. And a lot of people are sending messages on dutyron.com in regards to it. But before we get into it, I want to say a special thank you to you, the subscribers, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, everybody who positively engages in this Crime Time with DutyRon community. You're what makes it a great place. Um, I'm seeing lots of familiar faces and lots of folks who are new here. So if you're new, welcome aboard. Thank you for joining Soul for Music, Moonlight View, Kim, Sonia. The list goes on and on. So many of you guys are in here. If you can, take a moment to give it a thumbs up and like the video and subscribe to this community. So tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ed Wallace from Indonesia is going to join me, but we're also going to have our auto crime specialist, Detective Tommy. You'll know him from the previous cases that he came on and spoke with us on. He's been a guest quite a few times on Crime Time with DutyRon. But listen, by a show of hands, how many have you here been following this case closely? We are looking for a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. They didn't specify if it was a limited or if it what style it was, because the Elantras have the basic model. They have like an SE or an LE, and they have a limited, and there's various styles of Elantra. So they didn't specify. They just said a 2011 white to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. But also, I am still not, I'm not okay with the vehicles being towed outside of the crime scene to a open lot. So snow and the elements and debris can uh, just rain down on those vehicles. That's the victims' cars were all towed from out in front of that house. I said to myself, um, I wanted to, you know, I wanted to see those cars put into the inside, in an inside location where it was outside of the elements. But for whatever reason, they chose to leave those cars outside in an open lot. And we're going to talk tonight about that with our auto crime specialist. Tommy has spent so much time in the New York City Police Department in the auto crime division. He's got a lot to say about those vehicles. But I want to play a quick clip for you, Josh, if you could cue that one up. This is the agents that were going in and out. Well, actually, they went in, stayed for a little while. I think that they said around 35 to 45 minutes. The lights were left on, and basically, they hid themselves. They put their heads down. One guy was wearing a cowboy hat. When I first saw it, I had to do a double take, and I was like, "What is this? What's happening here?" So let's play that. We'll go full screen with it, and Josh, let it roll. Let it rip.
And about 5 plainclothes investigators, we don't know if they're local, state, federal, they were inside, and we saw a lot of activity inside the home, and the home was lit up. So we were able to peek in some of the windows, but we saw those men inside the home in the 2 particular rooms where the murders took place. We did not see them leaving with any materials. I asked them a couple of times, why are they back? They did not answer me. They pulled away in two vehicles. One had a Washington state plate, the other had an Idaho plate. But that is all we can tell you. But we did see a lot of activity. This house was lit up for nearly an hour. They were inside. We don't know why. Nothing seemed to be removed. But as you know, Ashley, yesterday, a lot of the kids' belongings were removed by Moscow police to be returned to their families.
So I'm just watching these guys as they're walking by you. Were you asking them questions and were they effectively just ignoring you? Did they say hello? Did they say anything at all?
Not a peep. And I asked them specifically, why are you here tonight? Why are you here tonight? They did not acknowledge me. So certainly they were on a mission and they left without saying a word.
So Nancy, I just want to point out the video that we're seeing right now.
Josh, can you stop it just for a second there?
Because, and let's.
So I want to just take note in this video that Josh is playing for us, and thank you for doing that, Josh. These guys went a couple of steps further, even with the view through the window. As they entered that location, they entered with their heads down. And for me, it just, I don't know, it's just odd. Listen, I deal with a lot of undercovers from outside agencies. I worked with, you know, the U.S. Marshals. I worked with the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, FBI, and you know, not many of them would act like that. It just came off a little odd and off-putting to me. But again, you know, they were there for a reason. They didn't. There was nothing fugazi about it. It was just the way they acted. That's all it was. It was just, to me, it was odd behavior for them to have to try to shield their faces or whatever from the cameras. Just didn't rub me the right way. But there maybe is a very good reason for it. So Josh, if you could put it back on, and we do definitely see this kind of behavior from undercover operatives, like guys and girls that don't want to be recognized if they're, you know, doing some kind of deep undercover work, you know, when it involves drugs and so forth. But so, you know, this was just, it was just a little odd. Nothing over the top, but, you know, I thought it was a little bit much when they did it going into the house, like inside through that window. You could see they were purposely putting their heads down. Josh, you can let that roll. Let's let it play again. Maybe you can back it up.
Play that if we can too.
A mission, and they left without saying a word.
So Nancy, I just want to point out the video that we're seeing right now. Let's blow this up full.
One guy had blue gloves on.
Replay that if we can too. This is the investigators walking out of the kitchen area into a hallway and then walking towards the living room. So there they are. It looks like they're emerging from the kitchen area,
blue gloves on,
walking towards the front of the house. That grassy sign that's on the wall right there, that's the good vibes sign. There's actually two of those signs in the house. It's very confusing. There's a good vibe sign that was lit up in Kaylee Goncalves' room. And there's also that same grassy good vibe sign right down there that faces the front in the living room. So they're walking out of the kitchen area and walking towards the front of the house in the living room on the second floor there. But that's the first time, Nancy, that we've actually been able to see them at work inside the house.
Right. And looking inside, we did see, you know, so many signs of a typical college life. You know, the items that we saw, red Solo cups, we saw a beer bottle, and there you see the window with the shades drawn, but you see the shadows of them working in that room. But yeah, they were inside. They seemed to be targeted in where they were going and what they were doing, and then they left without a word. Even though I tried to get some comments out of them.
Yeah, it's curious about the kitchen because we're still trying to get confirmation as to whether, you know, the killer entered through that back kitchen sliding door. But, you know, listen, that on a crime scene, they're going to look at every inch of that house. I am interested when you said that there was a Washington plate, because the very first thing I thought of when I saw those guys is they look, they don't look local necessarily. And I don't say that because they don't look like they're from Idaho. It just looks like they're moving in a particularly specific way.
Yeah.
And this late in the game, it just screams FBI to me, and maybe an FBI field office that's partially from Washington, maybe an FBI field office from the Idaho area. But did you ask if they were from FBI or what jurisdiction? And they just said, you know, nothing to see here?
Yeah, they would not. They would give me nothing. And I did call Moscow police, no answer, no response. So no explanation for any of this, but they were clearly inside on a mission.
I mean, 25 days of processing a crime scene, to me, it's something I haven't really seen, unless it's, you know, a massive school shooting. That could take 25 days because there's just so many victims and so much territory and so many markings. This one is a really unusual complexity. I can only think it's because there's just so many samples in that house over the years and over the times that the kids have been there that I'm still shocked they only have 113 pieces of evidence. Nancy, thank you for getting that video and for being the eagle eye and spotting that. Really do appreciate it. Thanks so much.
And we should point out that a lot of the forensic evidence went to the state lab, and that is still being tested. You know, the blood is the blood mixed DNA is the killer's DNA being tested. So there's a lot of information and evidence that's being tested now. And the Moscow Police Department kept stressing that, you know, we're not releasing a lot of information because we're protecting the integrity of the investigation, a term we keep hearing. So a lot of evidence still being processed and tested.
We honestly don't know if that killer cut himself and has, you know, mixed DNA in that blood, but you can't do that much activity and not shed a skin cell or a hair or a fiber off your sweater or your jacket or your hat.
Thank you. All right, so I just wanted to say this. The FBI added, I believe, 5 new investigators onto the case. At least that's what I was reading earlier today. So, you know, listen, like I said, these guys are from the law enforcement side. They're probably from the FBI, but just the way that came across was just a little bit weird. I've seen it before. It's not, you know, again, I just wanted to bring it up. But tonight we're going to be talking about the vehicles. The vehicles were towed out of there after a long period of time, right? A long period of time for vehicles to be left out in front of that location. But we also saw this week something I've never seen in my entire police career, is a police agency going into a crime scene and taking out personal effects for the family. Now, I've been around law enforcement for 31, going on 32 years. I can tell you that I've never, ever seen that happen. Now, that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened before, but me personally, and I know Ed Wallace and my guest tonight, Detective Tommy from the auto crime section, we've never, ever seen that, because that is something that's usually left up to families to do on their own. So there was a good reason behind it. And the next clip I want Josh to play is the police chief talking about helping the families get some closure and get some of the personal effects back of their loved ones. And this was, again, something that I've never, ever seen ever in my 30 plus years being around law enforcement. So Josh is going to cue this one up. This is the police chief of Moscow, Idaho. And he seems like a really, really nice guy, but this is something that has never been at least seen in all of the cases that I've ever worked. So Josh, if you could just roll this. This is him talking about taking out the items.
Describe what is happening at the residence tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, me and my command team and other individuals will be going in to box up personal belongings of the people that live there. And we're going to be getting those items back to the families. It's time for us to get those things back that really mean something to those families, and hopefully to help with some of their healing.
Why do you personally want to be involved in collecting these possessions?
We have a lot of investigators investigating, and I'm not tied into the investigation side of it where I'm physically interviewing people, and it's important to me. It's important for us as a department to go in and take care of the families and get the items for them so that they can have some of those back and some of those memories back that are fond memories. And I'm a dad. I understand the meaning behind some of those things. It may be something that, we gave one of our children or something, and we're just trying to bring some of that healing.
As people learn about this stage of the investigation, what do you want to say about where you're at with the investigation?
We're at that point in the investigation where we're still gathering information. We're still gathering tips. We're still gathering evidence. We're still doing everything we need to do. But there also comes a point in time when the family needs to have those belongings back, the ones that we can get them back. They've asked for some of those things back. So we're ready to take care of that for them.
So there you have it. Thank you, Josh, for sharing that. Listen, I think it's a really wonderful gesture, but I am always worried about crime scene. A crime scene is a crime scene, and if it's not unsealed and released, this crime scene is still under wraps. It's still, being guarded. It's still an active crime scene. So whenever you have people going in and out of active crime scenes and removing items, that's the thing that I'm getting at here. That's what I'm pointing at. It's a very nice gesture, and it's something that I've never seen done in over 30 years, ever. But like I said, the bottom line here is my first and foremost, my first concern is bringing justice for the victims. And if you do things like this, where you're going in and out and removing stuff from crime scenes, this could be a disaster. So again, I'm not taking anything away. I think it was a very kind thing to do, and very, very important to the family. But unless a crime scene is cleared and the tape comes down, the crime scene tape comes down, nothing should be removed from it. And I am a firm believer. You're going to hear Ed Wallace talk about that tonight, who is a crime scene expert. And you're going to also hear our auto crimes expert talk about the vehicles and how they shouldn't have been left out in the elements that long, if you feel that they were part of this crime scene, or if they could lead you to maybe some answers of what led up to the hours before these crimes happened. Don't forget, those cars are chock full of information. Anywhere those girls or guys drove those vehicles, there's a possibility that computer forensics can be retrieved from those cars. And it's important that those cars stay within and they stay in an area where it could be an eye can be kept on them, or they could be safe and sound. If you leave them out in an open lot that nobody is guarding, there's nobody at that open lot that I know of in the pictures and videos that I've seen that are guarding those vehicles. And that means that somebody can come from the outside and tamper with them. So if they were going to be left out in an open lot like that, I feel that they should have just been left out in front of that house. But that's just me talking out loud. We're going to get into that tonight too. We're going to get into that tonight. Yeah, they could have been put in a warehouse. They could have been put in any type of facility, a garage. They could have leased or rented a space where they could have put those cars, but they didn't do that. So a lot to talk about. Listen, the 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra, we don't know exactly why they want this vehicle or where they saw this vehicle, but apparently this vehicle was seen in and around the location of the crime scene. So, I come to in my mind, I think initially, I don't think it strongly now, but I think, was this Elantra, this Hyundai Elantra, was it the vehicle that drove Xana and her boyfriend Ethan home? Or were they driven home in another vehicle? I mean, we never got confirmation of who and what vehicle drove them back to the King Road home. So is this Elantra the vehicle that drove them home? We don't know. There's so many unknowns here. So the bottom line is it's going to be a difficult process for them to narrow down these vehicles. So we're going to get into it tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys more than likely they walked home. But I was talking about Kaylee and and Kaylee and Maddie. That's what I was talking about. That vehicle driven home. Was it that Hyundai Elantra for them? We know that more than likely Xana and Ethan walked, because you could see that path, the path from the if in fact they were still there during that whole time. And that's a whole nother issue. 4 hours and 45 minutes of not 100% knowing where they were, right? So it's crazy. It's crazy that there's that 4 hour and 45 minutes, at least, that we, the public, do not know about. Maybe the police know about it and they're not putting it out. But the vehicle that was that the girls were driven home in from the food truck, could this Hyundai Elantra be that? You know, that's the question. And it's all, there's all so many question marks and so many unknowns that makes this so crazy. You know, first they said it was an Uber, then they said it was a private vehicle that drove the girls home, right? Maddie and Kaylee, we're not 100% sure on that as well. So I really appreciate each and every one of you guys coming on here and hanging out with me for this quick mobile live stream. It's so busy. It's the Christmas time, the Christmas season. Everybody's buying, you know, a lot of gifts, and my place of business is just hustle and bustle. It's so busy, and that's why I haven't been able to go live during the day. Lieutenant Pete Pranzo, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Callie Dime, thank you for coming in. ATS News, Pineapple Slushy, so many great friends hanging out in here on this live stream. I appreciate you guys coming in. But tonight at 9 o'clock, it should be an interesting one. A Forensics Friday with Ed Wallace from Indonesia. You know, Ed won't be back until next week from Indonesia. So it's really hard for us to narrow down the times. It's 12 hours. So our Forensic Friday night is going to be Ed's Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. So it'll be 9 a.m. for Ed, and for us, it'll be 9 p.m. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see that time difference. So anyways, great to see each and every one of you here in this live stream, and I will look forward. Listen, tonight, this thing is going to link. When this live is over, it's going to link to the video for tonight. So if you can, when you get to the tonight video, when it sends you over there, just make sure you set the reminder and give it a thumbs up. All right, guys. So I'm going to see you tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Laura Hope is here. Black Rose 11, great mods and friends. Thank you for the replay views. Thank you for everyone hanging out. I will talk to you tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys hit the like button and hit the notification bell for the video tonight. Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining.